dumps. Big, massive dumps.
There's some whores in this house.
Tolerate.
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
Clean coal, meaning they're taking out coal, they're going to clean it.
Bullshit.
I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? It's Thursday. We got a show for you today. All right, so we're gonna have some fun. Steve Bannon, we're gonna watch him get defeated by a whistle. That's the best. We have, of course, we're gonna talk about the House codifying access to contraception. Great. I'm going to tell you how many Republicans voted against it. You're not going to be surprised. The number's quite high. Jesse Waters, and just can't help but show his anti-Semitism. And, of course, we're going to have rich men crying. So that's fun. We've got all that. It'll be a good show today. So it's going to be a good Thursday show. So please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very important to do so. All right. That said, stuff that I didn't have prepared tonight, but you know, we're probably going to be talking about some of the January 6th hearings that are going to happen at prime time tonight. So apparently there's going to be some evidence. There's going to be some very embarrassed Republicans. That's going to be fun. I don't know exactly what they plan on doing. Other than, again, showing, I guess, some possible evidence of how the Republicans that are, you know, saying, oh, January 6th, not a big problem. Wasn't really a big deal. It's tourists. We're actually scared shitless. Oh, that's fun. I'm looking forward to that. Also, the blooper reel of Donald Trump trying to send out his video to his weirdo followers. That's also going to be fun. I look forward to that. That's stuff that I hopefully I'm going to be able to talk about tomorrow. But of course, today we have lots of fun as well. But something that's not fun, it appears that Joe Biden has COVID. Okay, look, some people are expressing concern that he's got COVID. So far, he says he's doing fine. And is working. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm guessing that, you know, with all the medical technology and stuff that they have, I think Joe Biden's going to be fine. But again, you know, you never know what's going to happen. And it's funny because it actually got, it got Kamala or President Harris trending. And I saw some pretty funny tweets on that. One of them is, K-Hive will be like trying to push Biden down the stairs to get Kamala to be president. That's funny. Oh, she's so desperate. She definitely wants to be president. Or she does. She definitely does. But all right. Anyway, he just traveled to Massachusetts. Yeah, again, probably not a good idea for him to be around other people. Just saying. All right. But anyway, yeah, hopefully, of course, speedy recovery and that he's fine. You know, that's just what I'm saying. And I'm sure a lot of people have the same sentiment. All right. Anyway, so that's the news on that. Not really a whole lot. Again, I'm sure he'll be fine. And, you know, speedy recovery and all that wonderful stuff. So, all right. That said, let's go to fun stories. Nope. Already we've got insanity.
There's insanity in the control room.
Okay. He's getting the best free medical care. I know, right? If only every single American had the same kind of free medical care that the president gets. Wouldn't that be wonderful? All right. But anyway. All right, I got to give you a warning here. This could get loud and uncomfortable. So if you have your volume up, you might want to turn it down a little bit for this next video.
Why is he not here in person? Does he really have COVID? Has anybody checked at all, or is he just saying he has COVID? Has Dr. Fauci come forward and said Benny Thompson really has COVID? This is an absurdity. It's completely and totally absurd. Why is Benny Thompson? They can't find any human beings. There's no human beings.
What you just saw was Steve Bannon being defeated by a whistle. Now, that happened earlier on Wednesday. Bannon, of course, is on trial for contempt of court. It does not appear to be going very well for him. In fact, after federal prosecutors immediately rested their case after just 2 witnesses were called. And Steve Bannon did not even present a defense. In fact, afterwards, he went out and went to do weirdo conspiracies, talking about Benny Johnson, who is the chair of the committee, who actually, yes, does have COVID. But does he really have COVID? I need Dr. Fauci to come out and say it in person. Why? Steve Bannon would not believe Dr. Fauci. I mean, he wouldn't believe Fauci anyway. So what would be the issue? What would be the point? No, this entire thing is absolute nonsense. And look, it's deserving of the whistle because Steve Bannon has nothing of substance to say. He's a low-life, greasy con artist who's more in danger, honestly, of getting cirrhosis of the liver than ever experiencing his deepest nightmare, which is black people, being treated equally in this country. No, he's a racist white supremacist. He wants to create a white ethno state. He's a gross person who tried to help Trump overturn the election and take power. Fuck that guy. Simple as that. All right. So now I love this because the whistle was way less annoying than having to hear Steve Bannon spew his bullshit. But let's get back to the whistler. It turns out this American hero has been featured once before. In fact, this is not the first time that he has showed up to disrupt the right wing. In fact, Here is one of the other times.
Hey, take him away.
The media, you saw what happened here. The left shut us down.
Yeah.
They hate free speech. They hate free speech.
So look, you might not have been able to see the guy, but you could definitely hear him. Now, I love that because I had talked about that segment before. I remember that, and I didn't make the connection until like, oh wait, it's the same guy. It's the same guy. And I love it that you have right-wingers that are on the run. Because look, here's the thing. Right-wingers can't handle any sort of pushback. They really can't. And then, of course, they go and they cry about free speech. Hilarious. They're the world's biggest snowflakes. Now, look, I actually believe in the First Amendment, the real First Amendment, not the one conservatives have made up in their heads to be true, because they do this with all the different amendments. But here's what that means. Free speech means you shouldn't be jailed by the government for sharing political opinions. I agree with that. Yeah, of course you shouldn't be jailed for your political opinions. Right-wingers, they'll love to threaten to jail people for their political opinions. But there's nothing in the First Amendment that protects you from being pushed back by your fellow Americans if you say or believe shitty things. You can believe in free speech and also think that not all speech is created equal. I do not think that all opinions should be respected. I think terrible opinions should be treated terribly. I think white supremacy should be crushed. I think it should be stuffed in the dustbin of history. I think racists should be afraid to speak racist things. Not because of government. I don't want government going and shutting them down. I don't, believe in arresting people for terrible opinions, but I do think that white supremacists should be so scared of their fellow Americans doing pushback, chasing them out of public life, not doing violence, not advocating for that, but basically intimidating them, scaring them out of public life. I think they should be ostracized, fired, refused service, etc. I don't think I don't think that, people who believe that a certain group of people deserves less rights due to immutable characteristics. If you believe that, then I don't think your opinion should be respected at all. There's nothing to respect about it. You're a terrible person. In fact, I believe that you deserve the utmost disrespect. And if you don't like it, well, go cry about it. Because to understand, that's all that people like Steve Bannon do. They cry and they cry and then hilariously call themselves superior to other people. Let's get one thing straight, all right? Let's make it very, very clear. Do you look at this guy? Is that superior? Be honest. Ain't nothing superior about that guy. All right. Sorry, I should have given you a trigger warning on that one. Not only did I make you have to listen to Steve Bannon, but by the way, that was the warning that I gave you in the beginning of the segment here. It wasn't about the whistling. No, it's about having to hear Steve Bannon talk. And then showing you a picture of Bannon. Sorry. My bad. All right. Let's move on. In the wake of the Supreme Court gutting the right to an abortion, House Democrats have passed several bills, one which codified the right for LGBTQIA+ people to get married, and earlier this morning passed a bill to codify contraception. Great. Now, the bill passed despite 195 Republicans who decided to vote against it. The bill, which passed mainly on party line votes, was 228 to 195. Now, think about that. The guarantee to access contraception was opposed by the majority of the Republican Party. What? That's 96% of the Republican Party in the House specifically saying, yeah, we don't want you to get contraception. Birth control. Don't care. In fact, birth control does way more than actually prevent pregnancy. It helps regulate women's hormonal cycles, as well as treat medical issues. For example, can help with cramps, PMS, anemia, endometriosis symptoms, which it helps relieve, prevents ovarian cysts. It also helps with polycystic ovarian syndrome and can even lower risk of certain types of cancers. Now, 195 Republicans said, yeah, okay, don't care. Oh, right. Because, their thoughts are women can have sex outside of reproduction, and it turns out that we don't actually like that. Now, remember, the whole right-wing premise here is to punish women who engage in sexual activity for fun and pleasure. I know. Oh, my God. What a horrible thing. Oh, no. Women having sex outside of strictly reproduction? Can't have it. Can't have it. Really? What's funny is that, look, as I said, they want to punish women, but it's never the man that gets punished. The man never has to deal with any of the consequences. It's always placed squarely on the female for having to bear a child and then raise that child. They have to deal with their body essentially being taken over by a parasitical entity that leaches their nutrients, their blood. It takes over their body. They even leach the calcium from your bones to grow. And then they have to go through the birthing process, from which, from what I hear is not exactly a pleasant experience. I will never have to experience that. So it's great that I don't make laws based on that, because I shouldn't make laws based on that. Worse is if you have to get a C-section, right? They literally go in to make a bunch of incisions to get to it, to get to the fetus, and they end up rearranging your insides, literally, to get at that baby. I don't think women should be forced to go through that process, especially by the government. The government should not be forcing women to go through that. All right. Now, that said, if you don't want people to have abortions, then you should be in favor of birth control. But as we see, 195 of them said, no. We want to not only ban abortion, but we also want to force you to have those babies. I'm going to restrict access to birth control. Now, I know some of them will say, oh, this bill is just unnecessary. Is it, though? Is it? They said the same thing about Roe. Oh, no, it's established precedent. We'll never, we're not going to go after that. But trust me, trust us. Trust us. When you have a Supreme Court justice, in this case, Clarence Thomas, saying, hey, maybe we ought to look at getting rid of Griswold v. Connecticut, among other decisions that are civil rights decisions, then yeah, I would say that this bill would be necessary. Unfortunately, though, both of the bills that were just passed, they could end up falling to the filibuster, which is disastrous. And look, here's why, okay? Right-wingers have been working on overturning Roe for decades. They've been working long and hard to strip away abortion rights. And guess what? They're not going to stop there. You had these Supreme Court justices lying under oath to get on the bench. You're going to trust anything they say? You're going to trust them? You're going to trust Thomas? You're going to trust people like Mitch McConnell? Come on. No, I don't trust any of them. They're not going to stop there. They're going to come after all your civil rights, and they already are talking about doing so. And by they, I mean Republicans like Matt Gaetz, who voted against this, Paul Gosar, Jack Bergman, and Joe Wilson. And unlike the same-sex marriage bill, which actually got about over 40, I believe 47 Republicans that voted for in favor of it, which was actually quite surprising. Only 8 Republicans voted in favor of this. Let me give you their names. Representative Liz Cheney, again, surprising vote, but welcome. Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, Anthony Gonzalez of Ohio, John Katko of New York, Adam Kinzinger, again, not a surprise, of Illinois, Nancy Mace of South Carolina, also again supporting the, and by the way, a lot of these Republicans also supported the same-sex marriage bill, which is interesting. Maria Salazar of Florida and Fred Upton of Michigan. So now look, I want to tell you who they are because credit where credit is due. Yeah, they're the minority of the Republican Party, but they actually did vote the right way, in a way that is, of course, in line with actual freedom and privacy, which again is super surprising, but welcome. So now getting back to Mace, right? So Nancy Mace actually went a little bit of a step further. She told USA Today that improved health care for women in a post-Roe America should include access to birth control. And she actually did walk into the chamber with a statement on her clothes, basically saying we should protect contraception. And I think that's a good thing, right? Now, she told USA Today, quote, "There's a reason why we're having so many of these abortions. If women had access to birth control, maybe we wouldn't have a reason to have so many of these children murdered in the womb." Now, again, I don't like that framing. I'll get to that. But first, the rest of her statement, she said, if you're going to ban abortion, you've got to make sure women have access to health care, medical care, prenatal care, and birth control. All right. So, again, her framing is disastrous because it doesn't fit the facts. She is a Republican, after all. But she's mostly right on the rest of that. But let me just give you the facts here. The majority of abortions, the vast majority, actually take place before fetal viability. Before that's an actual life, an independent human being. Before there's even a heartbeat, before there's even a heart. And so that's, again, the vast majority of abortions that are performed. Now, the ones, of course, that do take place later, again, the vast majority usually have to do with the mother, whether that pregnancy is a danger to the mother or the fetus is not viable. And so, you know, those are the facts on that, okay? Now, her statement, the rest of it, again, makes sort of sense from her perspective. Now, again, I think that regardless of the state of Roe, you know, or the protection of abortion rights, I think those should be enshrined in the law. I think, you know, abortion anytime for any reason, that's what I'm in support of, because it's not my body. It's their body. And they should have control over it. That said, right? Even if you have full abortion rights, like the ones that I'm, you know, in favor of, well, you should still have health care. You should still have contraception. Because again, if you have contraception that's free and easily available, well, then you're not going to have as many abortions. That's a good thing, right? Again, if you're actually pro-life and you believe that, then yes, you would be in favor of more contraception. And it looks like Nancy Mace, to give her credit, even if I disagree with her framing, she seems to be coming from it from an actual pro-life position. So I'm being totally fair. I disagree with her, and the science disagrees with her, but she actually makes a really good point that we should have health care, we should have prenatal care, we should have all of that stuff, regardless of, again, the condition of Roe. And so that's why I'm in favor of Medicare for all. That's why I'm in favor of these social programs. But again, ultimately saying, hey, if we're going to do this, it might as well, like, of course, make sense to prevent pregnancies, which we prevent abortions, and give pregnant people support if they're going to end up having that baby. That makes a ton of sense. Ton of sense. But this gets back to the point where the majority of the Republican Party continues to prove that they are not pro-life, they are pro-birth, pro-forced birth. Again, once it's born, the majority of them don't give a damn. No, you don't get any health care. You don't get any paid leave. You don't get any food stamps. No, you get no support. You know what you get? You get some fucking bootstraps. Here you go. Good luck. Remember, they love it when it's preborn. But as Carlin said, if you're preschool, you're fucked. No truer words have been spoken about the Republican Party. But as I've explained before, too, I think that this is the far right here, which is in control of the Republican Party. You have the extremists, the lunatics that are running the asylum, okay? And a lot of them are incredibly racist. And so what do you hear, for example, on Tucker Carlson, right? White replacement. They're replacing white people, okay? The demographics are changing. And yes, is it true that demographics are changing, that the United States is getting more diverse? Yeah. Now I look at that and I see a good thing. Racists look at that and see, oh no. And so, I mean, look, poor people do not have the means to get abortions. Well, and while, access to abortion and abortion restrictions disproportionately affect people of color, it also does mean that poor white people living in rural communities, the Republican base, well, guess what? It's going to happen to them. They're going to have more babies. They're going to have more white babies. They're going to have more possible Republican voters. That's what they're hoping for. They're trying to ensure that the next generation, because the newer generations, like Gen Z, millennials, were more progressive. Okay? They're trying to not just increase the domestic supply of infants, which is incredibly cryptic and really kind of a fucked up phrase that came from Amy Coney Barrett. But they're trying to increase that, not just the domestic supply of infants, but white infants. Infant mortality, I have to remind you, among black infants is much higher, especially when it comes to red states. Now, that means, of course, less of them survive, more, not just infant mortality, but there's mortality among pregnant people as well, who happen to be black. And so less of them survive, but more white babies, because of this disparity, more white babies survive. And they end up becoming, at least in their hopes, becoming Republican voters. I definitely think that's the plan. And if you don't think that way, I mean, you're probably just not paying attention, because they're really, really honest about it. If you pay attention to what they're actually saying, it's all related. I mean, banning abortion, banning birth control, taking over school boards to teach their specific version of history, which is, again, white nationalism, banning critical race theory, or just, applying the label of critical race theory to anything that happens to just teach black history, or, history of how Asian people were treated in this country, of how Latinos were treated in this country, anyone who was not white and Christian, right? They also banned gender studies, try to defund schools, defund colleges, and try to get professors fired for teaching actual history, that kind of stuff. And I think all of that is just part of an effort to reverse not only decades of demographic changes that have threatened Republican majorities, but also to propagandize young people into voting for conservatives and conservative policies. And I say that because, again, I think we on the left have vastly underestimated Republican planning. You look back in the attacks on Roe and how after 50 years, they have culminated in them successfully taking over the Supreme Court with activist judges to overturn, the progress on women's reproductive rights. And now they're again, telegraphing an attack on all these others, same-sex marriage, contraception rights, bringing back sodomy laws to go after gay people. All that's being telegraphed right now. And these are all priorities that have been targeted by the right wing. And so, yes, they are very, very long-term planners. And that, of course, makes them incredibly dangerous. That's why we need to fight like hell to stop them. All right. Moving on. Matt Walsh probably doesn't get any, and he doesn't want you to either.
If conceiving a child would be disastrous for you, you believe, then do not participate in activities that literally billions of times in the past have resulted in the conception of a child. If reproduction would be a disaster for you, you believe, then do not participate in the Reproductive Act. That's all. If you're able to reproduce, and yet reproduction would be a catastrophe, then do not participate in the Reproductive Act.
Well, hey, ladies, that's it. I mean, you heard Matt Walsh. Just don't have sex. That's it. Yep. How about you stop telling people what to do with their own bodies, you fucking weirdo creeps? How about that, right? Look, I'm tired of people like Matt Walsh telling others what to do and then claiming to be pro-freedom. All right? Especially since these are the same people that cried about being asked to wear a mask out in public during a pandemic. Suddenly now, my body, my choice doesn't really apply. But okay, let's talk about what would happen if women decided to not have sex for fear of pregnancy in the world that Matt Walsh wants to create. Well, for one, men would lose their shit. You're telling them not to have any sex? What do you think is going to happen? There's going to be a lot of frustrated people walking around, sexually frustrated. And besides, not only that, but again, you look at women. Well, women also in general like to have sex as much as any man does. But nobody seems to want to talk about that. Nobody wants to seem to talk about how normal the female sex drive is. And how, yes, women do have a sex drive. And how it's absolutely 100% normal to enjoy having intimate relations. How it's incredibly normal to do it. And look, I don't think it should be a punishment. But these right-wingers think that it should be. Oh, yeah, no, having a baby, which is supposed to be a wonderful, amazing thing, becoming a parent, these right-wingers want to make it a punishment for having sexual activity. So now he goes on to say, well, it's because we're not animals. We're able to control ourselves. Actually, we are animals, but yes, that said, of course, we do have self-control. That doesn't really help your point, though, because yes, that doesn't mean we don't enjoy sex. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't, especially since we do have contraceptives, especially when we do have, or we should have, the right to bodily autonomy. We should be allowed to enjoy those things. But understand what people like Walsh want to see, going back to it, is, again, where women specifically are punished for enjoying sex. Again, he's not talking about men, right? He's not talking about men. Somehow he thinks the men should be fine. And I'll go to where he actually says it would be better for loser men like himself to get an arranged marriage. But first, I just want to mention how he hates women and doesn't want them to have the freedom to choose. That's it. Again, for arranged marriages, so that women will have to be paired up with loser men against their will. This is exactly what he said. Take a look.
Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum are arranged marriages.
instead of a boundless, never-ending buffet of options, a young person in a culture that practices arranged marriages will be assigned just one, and they don't even make the choice. Their families just pair them up and say, here you go. There's far less freedom and far less autonomy in a system of that sort, but it is without a doubt superior to our system. We would be happier. Every person in the dating scene right now would be happier if they were just matched up with someone against their will. Actually.
Yeah, actually, no. Look, this guy, he's trying to be the poster child for, I guess, incels, which is hilarious, right? While also trying to say, oh, no, what are you talking about? I'm pro-freedom. I'm pro-freedom, even though I think people should be in arranged marriages by their parents. That is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Now, look, he's also said on the record that he doesn't like birth control. He says it's like poison. And that reproduction is basically, to him, the only thing that women are good for, and that it's feminism's fault that tricked women into thinking that there's more to life than being a broodmare in a forced marriage. That's who this guy is. That's who this guy is. He says, well, you know, the act of reproduction, it's a superpower that only women have. And it's feminism that's getting women to see that as a burden. Really? Really? Again, women, okay. So, look, we could talk about the economic issues of raising a child and how it does require a lot of dedication, a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of investment. And look, there's a lot of millions and millions of people who are like, let's make that investment, right? And there are some incredibly good returns on that, you know, investment of time, and there's unconditional love. And there's many, many wonderful things about being a parent. But not everybody wants to be a parent, and nobody should be forced to be a parent. Just because you can reproduce doesn't mean you should be forced to reproduce. Okay? And so just because you can have sex doesn't mean that you should be forced into dealing with a pregnancy that you don't want. No, you should have access to birth control. You should have access to an abortion if you need it. Again, you know, this guy's even against, I think, cases where there is rape or incest. So she didn't even choose to have it. And again, we don't even talk about the societal pressure, not just societal pressure, but look at some pressure inside of relationships. I've known women before that felt that they had to do those things with their partner, even though they weren't comfortable with those things, that they were coerced, you know, into having into having intimate relations with somebody. Because there is that very real thing. But none of that, again, gets through the thick head of people like Matt Walsh, because at the end of the day, Matt Walsh is a goddamn pervert, a lunatic, and a disgusting person. Get out of people's sex lives. Stay out of their bedroom. Worry about yourself. There. I hope I'm being rather clear. Okay. Moving on, let's go to Jesse Waters. All right.
As we told you, Joe's never cared about climate change. This is Bernie's plan.
That was a graphic from Wednesday's edition of Jesse Waters' show on primetime, featuring what was a very anti-Semitic graphic of Bernie Sanders holding the puppet strings of Joe Biden. Great, great. Now, look, Bernie Sanders, of course, is Jewish. He lost family in the Holocaust. And here we have a Fox News host that is claiming that Bernie Sanders is pulling Joe Biden's puppet strings, which again goes back to a very, very old anti-Semitic trope, the Jewish puppet master, right? It dates back centuries. So that's the anti-Semitic trope, right? And already disgusting. But then let's go to the facts, right? The facts where he's completely wrong. Now, the one thing I guess that he might be a little bit correct on is I don't think Joe Biden really cares that much about climate change, at least not as much as younger people, because he seems to, be okay with opening up oil and gas drills and, all that stuff, and not pushing hard for, and again, this goes against Jesse Waters' narrative, pushing for the Green New Deal, which he is not. Now, look, Biden should actually be declaring a climate emergency in order to do those policies. He's actually not doing that. He's not doing the Green New Deal. I wish he was. I wish he would plagiarize Bernie Sanders and actually do what Bernie Sanders wanted him to do. I do wish this was true, but he's not. He should be, because climate change is happening right now, and we do need massive investments in clean renewable energy. I reported for the last couple of days, Europe is on fire. We've had record temperatures. We've seen them in the UK. We've seen them in Spain, in France, Germany, not to mention all the other places that it's affected, not just recently, but in the past, other heat waves. Outside of the West, you had Australia, you had heat waves in the Middle East. The Arctic has been melting. You've had huge heat waves in India. All of this has had an impact. All of this has had an effect. Okay? It doesn't just affect us in the United States. And again, we only really pay attention to it, unfortunately, when it is in the United States or in the West, like in the UK. But no, it's been affecting other people, other countries, and yes, even all of us for quite some time now. It's just now that people are being forced to pay attention to it, because it's very, very clear that this is no longer freak occurrences, freak weather. No, this is normalized now. Everybody is affected. It's not just, our clean air going over to China or China's air coming over here. No. Everybody is affected. Everybody's affected. The earth is warmer. It continues to get warmer, and it's getting warmer faster than human beings and other species that we rely on to survive can adapt to. But yet here we have this bigot in Fox News primetime putting out openly anti-Semitic fake imagery for political gain. And gain, of course, to protect oil companies and oil profits. Now, is Jesse Waters going to get in trouble for this? No, of course not. Jesse Waters is not going to get talked to. He's not going to get removed from the air. No, he doesn't care at all. Doesn't care at all. And neither does Fox News. But the intended effect here, too, is to distract, as I mentioned, oil company profits, right? Because now we're here talking about something different than climate change. We're not talking about the Green New Deal. Instead, we're talking about anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. I mean, this is almost like Jewish space lasers from Marjorie Taylor Greene causing forest fires. No, those forest fires, again, dry conditions, exacerbated by climate change, drought conditions that are droughts that are longer and drier and more often, causing forest fires, because all you need is a little spark, lightning strike, whatever. And then you have a gigantic blaze that is almost impossible to put out due to these dry conditions. Again, all exacerbated by climate change. We're not talking about that. She'd rather talk about space lasers that don't exist in some weirdo anti-Semitic conspiracy theory than the fact that the very real fact that we are putting out massive amounts of carbon and methane greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and we've been doing so for a very, very long time, and now it's finally caught up to us. And we're still not doing anything because they don't want to. But no. We're talking about conspiracy theories. We're talking about George Soros. We're talking about Bernie Sanders controlling Biden. Like, again, I said, I wish Bernie Sanders and the squad were controlling Joe Biden. Maybe then we'd actually have Medicare for all. But then, segments like this are also dog whistles to attract neo-Nazis and white nationalists. They hate Jewish people. They hate black people. They hate Latinos, etc. And Jesse Waters is trying to get that those people to watch. And he's doing so by sending the signal of, hey, I'm one of you. I got your back. And for everybody else watching Fox News, there's another effect. And that's trying to tie in Biden's policies with progressives. Trying to say that they're one and the same, which they're definitely not. Let's be very, very clear. President Biden hasn't done any of the Bernie Sanders policy proposals. No, not at all. Not at all. Again, he's barely done even any of his own progressive, or I should say policy proposals, much less progressive policy proposals. And there's different reasons for that, of course. There's Republicans that have been consistently blocking him, as well as members of his own party, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema. Joe Manchin is a literal coal baron who doesn't want to do anything about climate change because it's actually going to affect his bottom line. No, he can't do that. But right-wingers cannot point to any actual policy that Joe Biden has done to create conditions that people are dealing with today. Because there is none. Aside from some executive orders, which are, again, mixed, right? A bipartisan infrastructure bill that was filled with corporate pork that's not actually going to get into effect. It's not in effect yet. It's going to take years and years for that infrastructure to be built and repaired. Then you have a COVID bill. Aside from that, there really hasn't even been really any changes. Again, Biden did promise his donors nothing will fundamentally change. And guess what? That's happened. We don't have Medicare for all. We don't have a Green New Deal. We don't have a drug pricing reform. We don't have a student, we don't have student loan debt canceled. We don't have paid family leave. We don't even have a child tax credit. We don't have any of that stuff. So what is Jesse Waters talking about? No, what he's doing is obvious, and he is tying Biden to Bernie Sanders because, for one, Bernie Sanders is actually the most popular politician in this country. Now, you might think, wait a minute, tying those two together, wouldn't that help Joe Biden? No. Joe Biden has incredibly low popularity. It's worse than Donald Trump. That's insane. Now, interestingly enough, they're trying to use Joe Biden to drag down Bernie by tying the failures of the Biden administration to do anything onto Bernie Sanders and progressives. And of course, most importantly, the policies, because it's not just about Bernie Sanders. It's not about Joe Biden. It's about the policies. Okay. It's about progressive policies versus conservative policies and so-called centrist policies or corporate policies, right? Now, it turns out when you talk about just the policies, those are incredibly popular even among Republicans. Progressive policies, yes, are popular among Republicans. And they hate that. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to paint Biden's policies the same as Bernie's by saying that Bernie is actually in control. The squad's in control. The ultra left is in control. Again, not true, to try to tank those policies because they point to it and say, well, look, they had all their radical left-wing policies in place and look what happened. It's worse. But no, that's just not reality at all. At all. And again, Fox News is not the only people that are doing this. You have cable news. Cable news, CNN, MSNBC, they also do it. Why? Because they're corporate owned. Progressive policies might actually have a negative impact on the profit margins of those corporations. Waters doing the same thing. But now Waters is doing it differently than mainstream media, because it's tailored to a specific, incredibly bigoted and conspiratorial demographic. But it's the same result, right? It's just part of an effort to try to prevent popular, progressive, and necessary policies to fight climate change and to make people's lives better from ever getting passed. All right. All right, let's lighten it up by making fun of rich people, specifically Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz is still crying 4 years after writing an entire column about being shunned from his fellow elites at Martha's Vineyard for defending former President Donald Trump. He now comes out and cries more.
I wrote my book on the price of principle. You're right. I have been punished severely. I can't speak at the library in Martha's Vineyard. I can't speak in the synagogue in Martha's Vineyard. I can't speak in the community center. I have been silenced by people who don't want to hear my perspective because I defended the Constitution on behalf of President Trump. That's today's America.
No, poor me. I've been canceled. Oh, I can't even go to Martha's Vineyard. No. Now the crying, of course, does not stop there. In a different appearance, because understand that he has made several different appearances just to cry about being canceled from Martha's Vineyard, even when the topic is not about Martha's Vineyard. He just brings it up himself and injects that into the conversation. It's hilarious. Here's what he said, quote, "People refuse to attend events if they know I'm going to be there. And that's why several friends of mine who have invited me for years to events in their home or concerts that they've sponsored have apologetically said, 'We're sorry we can't invite you, because if you come, everybody will leave.'" That is fucking hilarious. I don't know what the problem is. If I show up, people just leave. Yeah, it's because they don't want to hear you talk because you're insufferable. Moron. Entitled. Hilarious. Okay. For one, look, this guy actually believes that he's entitled to have people sit and listen to him. I mean, come on. Look, Alan Dershowitz has every right to have an opinion, of course. But he can't sit there and force other people to listen to him, because that's what he wants to do. I just want to force people to sit and listen to me because I'm so important. Do you know who I am? I'm Alan Dershowitz. No, nobody cares. But look at the entitlement, okay? Understand, this is what their version of cancel culture is about. This is what they think cancel culture is. I can't force people to sit there and listen to my shitty opinions. No, he wants to, and since he can't, he cries. He cries and cries and cries. Oh, please. Why don't you just listen to me? I'm so important. But even more so, he continues to write ridiculous things like this. And this just shows you how much it gets under his skin. From a personal point of view, I could not care less about being shunned by people whose views regarding dialogue I do not respect. I want to make it clear that it's not about me. I have a thick skin. Oh, do you? It's about the other people in Chilmark who want to hear my views. People who come here because they love the culture and they love going to the book fair. They love going to the library events, to the community center. Now they can't hear me at any of those places and just see me. Oh, and nothing of value was lost. Oh, there's more. During another Newsmax appearance the past weekend, Dershowitz insisted that aside from his cancellation on the island, several unnamed residents have lamented to him that they can no longer see him doing public speaking events in the vineyard. Elsewhere, Dershowitz claimed that he had been besieged with phone calls from people complaining that they've been denied the chance to see his speeches. Really? Oh, yes, the legions of Alan Dershowitz fans. You are being unfairly deprived. Oh my God. How? No. You know how many calls the library had actually gotten over this? Again, he claims that they're besieged with phone calls, okay? About Alan Dershowitz. Okay, let me just say this, okay?
Bullshit.
Absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Total crap. Total crap. I mean, no, I don't believe it at all. And guess what? The library had gotten 0 calls. In fact, the local director of the library told a reporter that asked about this, not one single person has contacted me to complain that they haven't had a chance to hear Alan speak. Oops. Oh, but he can't help himself. He can't help himself.
Give me a break.
Look, that's why he can't stop talking about it. But I know what he's doing, okay? So he's doing what every right-winger does. And it's funny because I guess Alan Dershowitz is supposed to be a Democrat. We're supposed to be a liberal in Martha's Vineyard. Again, I think he's at best like one of the corporate centrist Democrats or so-called moderates, right? But this guy is hopping on the right-wing cancel culture grift train. He even wrote a book about cancellation. That's the primary theme of his latest book that he's going on tour for. Absolutely ridiculous. No, we know what it is. We know what it's about. It's about the monies. And it's, of course, about his very, very inflated sense of self-importance. That's what really, binds all of these different grifters. They just feel like that they're so important that they need to be able to have the ability to force people to listen to them. No, ridiculous. All right. I'm done a little early today. So, sad day. All right. Let's see. Did I forget to, yeah, I did forget to, hold on. To thank Tempo Dan for gifting those community subs and then saying 19 is a number, I guess. It's a good number. It's a good number. So thank you for that. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I had a bit of a weird day today. So I ended up getting getting up super late. My wife's car, she had to get a new tire put on it because she got a flat at work or on her way to work. So that was just, it's been a day. So sorry for not having any more content for you all, but we're close enough to an hour. Let's see. Monty Darno, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Great show. Thanks, Jeff. You're welcome. And thank you, by the way. Hold on. Let me find that.
Please clap.
All right. Flats are tiring. True. All right. Yeah, so look, hopefully we're going to have a... Oh, please stop using an English accent when imitating jerks. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. It's not like I'm trying to make fun of British people. I'm not. But it's just that classic, rich guy, douchey kind of thing. So have you and John Anderola made up yet? No. I wasn't aware that we were fighting. Are we feuding? Are we? English accent for jerks is an American tradition. It's probably a bad one. I know. And I apologize to my UK viewers. It just makes me think of the, pompous Monopoly guy. Blood feud? I don't know I don't think we have a blood feud, me and John. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna have to most British are not rich. Oh, I know that, but there is a very stratified society in the UK. I mean, that's just one of those things, right? What was it? Okay. Hold on here. Use Kyle Kalinski's Monaco guy a rich voice? Yeah, maybe I'll look into that. Birmingham sounds more working class. Well, I don't know that, I don't think you're fighting with John. Your last show went well together. Yeah, I know. So like if I'm feuding with John, that's news to me. I mean, I would be very, very surprised that I'm having a feud with John. He and I get along very, very well. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to reach out and do damage report again. Maybe hash it out there. If there's a thing. If there's a thing that we're fighting about, which I don't think we are. John Oliver imitates jerks in a British accent. John Oliver has a British accent, though. Doesn't he? Yeah, he does. Okay. Anyway. John doesn't do an English accent. Fair enough. John is passive aggressive. Nobody knows if feud is happening. All right. Look. I gotta go. Let's just say that. Yes, it would be great to have you on Damage Report again. Yeah, look, I'll reach out for that. And see about getting back on the show. I'm sure it'd be a lot of fun. I'm sure he's always happy, of course, to have another guest on. I'm always happy to be there, so it works out. I haven't asked him to be on this show, though, because I know how busy the guy is. John is probably one of the hardest working people I know, other than Jank. Because that guy never stops working. But anyway, but me, well, I stop working a lot. Okay, anyway. I know. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have good stories. Hopefully have more segments than we did today. So thank you. Have a great night. We'll have a good show tomorrow. So we'll see you then. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, my goodness.
There's insanity in the control room.
Who's got a hammer?
It's like a shark tornado, except with this.
Mike Pounds.
Every goddamn thing out of you people's mouths doesn't come true.
Dumps.
I will eat your ass.
Big, massive dumps.
Disappointed!
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels.